And that kind of also relates to our next scenario of use cases that we ran in with customers, which is like third party access. So now you have potentially unmanaged devices, or they're being managed by a different organization than yours, right? And you're trying to provide them access to your data and your applications and your environment. And the concept of like, well, I have to force them to use, oh, we're a CrowdStrike shop. They got to have CrowdStrike on their endpoint. Well, that may not be what they're licensed for. Not to mention all the other security, problems that come along with third-party access. So maybe we'll talk about the third-party access use case that we had. So in this case, it'd be like someone coming from an unmanaged device, right? Coming into
Hmm.
the environment, and you leveraging an enterprise browser function for SaaS and web-based applications, and for the very basic common like putties and SSH communication. Maybe there's an RDP to a jump box or something like that, all through enterprise browser functionality.
So yeah, when you're utilizing a third-party solution and a let's say
Like
you are
contractors,
a contractor,
right?
yes.
Yeah.
So that's going to be one of the key ones. So and just recently, actually, I've actually had to work with this with a individual. So us being consultants and us being contractors, having to come into a customer that says, "Hey, we need you to have a certain level of access." From my standpoint, being E360, for example, I don't have administration access to my device. And so when a customer comes in and says, we need you to do work for us, first thing we're going to ask is, okay, how can I gain access? Prior, it used to be VDI or VPN. And if I need to install a solution, I may or may not have access. I might have to set up a request for IT to be able to provide it for me. So something like a enterprise browser, if that is already located on our machine. So us as a consultant say, hey, we know we're going to use this solution for other customers. So we're going to go deploy this for you automatically. So all you have to do is when you get the request from the customer, maybe I get credentials from the customer. So I can log into my enterprise browser with their credentials that they provide me. And now I'm gaining access to their environment for any and all solution items that I need, whether it's getting into ServiceNow to request additional access, or if I'm going into their workday to say, hey, I'm logging in for the day and here's what I'm going to be doing for the day. Having that availability to be able to get into the customer's environment without having direct access or direct deployment into a solution like to install an enterprise browser is huge, because now I can get in and I can take apart well, I have to submit a request for this. And it may take a couple days to a couple weeks. Having that ability to say, this is very simple. Just if you have admin access, great, go ahead and deploy this simple browser and log in with these credentials. And now you've gained access to, hey, I can go request this with my internal IT. They're going to look at it and say, oh, this is a security tool. This is great. We'll drop it on your machine. Now you can go and log in, and now you have full access to the environment.
I think you gave a good example of just us as even consultants ourselves, right? So we're coming in as third party, where people are like, oh, you have to have this VPN. And I'm like, well, I'm also working with this other customer that's got this other VPN, and someone else has got this other VPN. And now suddenly you're like, they all don't play together well. And so sometimes they're like, well, we're just going to ship you a laptop. And you're like, great, now I got 4 laptops sitting and I got to know which one I'm connecting to. Now what we're talking about is that like you don't have to have full level network level access. You don't have to secure that management of that endpoint, and you could still provide the user, in this case the contractor, the third party access into your environment to do the work they need to do without necessarily putting the organization at a security risk, which is a big deal.
Yeah, and you nailed it. Right now on my work laptop, I have 4 VPNs, or probably 5 now, and they don't play nice together. And oftentimes, I can't go shut down the service to go use another one. So when we're talking these enterprise browsers, it's great because on a daily basis, I have Firefox, I have Chrome, I have Edge. So when I'm utilizing something like Island or something like the Citrix enterprise browser, they play well together because they're their own ecosystem across the board. Yes, they're still Chromium based browsers, and yes, they're still a browser, and they all try to fight and say, hey, I need to be your primary browser. But at the end of the day, I'm not limited to one particular solution, even though I have many solutions on my laptop, because they're all in the same ecosystem. They all ultimately want to do the same thing. At the end of the day, it's what that corporation or organization dictates and what their ultimate solution is. From my standpoint, being a consultant, I can make that work very simply. That's the best part about it, is that they can all play nice together.